In a faraway galaxy, a powerful alien race called the Zephyrians looked down on Earth. They had advanced technology and impressive ships that could travel across stars in seconds. To them, humans were weak and primitive. They lived in a place filled with forests, oceans, and mountains, but their technology was nothing compared to the Zephyrians. One day, the Zephyrian High Council gathered to discuss their plans. Commander Varnock, a tall and imposing figure with bright green skin and sharp, pointed ears, spoke to the council members. "We have received news about a human ship called the USS Indomitable. They say it is a dreadnought, but it sounds weak and old," he said, sneering at the thought. The council members laughed. "A dreadnought? How amusing," said Lady Solara, a sleek alien with shimmering blue scales. "Can it even fly without falling apart? We will crush them in no time." As they laughed, the council decided to send a fleet to Earth. Their goal was simple: to show the humans their true power and to claim Earth as part of their empire. They believed the Indomitable would be an easy target. Varnock planned the attack, excited to make a name for himself by defeating the so-called human dreadnought. Back on Earth, Commander Sarah Mitchell stood on the bridge of the USS Indomitable. She was a confident and skilled leader, known for her bravery. The ship was old, but had been updated with new technology and weaponry. Sarah believed in her crew and their ability to defend Earth, even if the Zephyrians thought otherwise. As the crew prepared for the possible attack, they monitored the news reports. Many humans felt worried when they heard about the alien fleet. Rumors spread quickly, and some people doubted their own strength. "Are we really ready to face them?" one crew member asked nervously. Sarah looked at her crew and raised her voice to calm them. "Listen up! The Indomitable has been built to withstand attacks. We have powerful weapons and technology that the aliens know nothing about. They may laugh now, but they will learn to fear us." Her words sparked a fire in their hearts, filling them with determination. Meanwhile, the Zephyrian fleet approached Earth, their ships gliding silently through space. They were enormous and filled with advanced weapons. As they drew closer, Commander Varnock ordered the fleet to broadcast their message to Earth. "Humans! We are the Zephyrians! Your dreadnought is nothing but a toy. Surrender now, and we may spare your lives." The aliens laughed loudly, their voices echoing through space. They believed they were invincible, and their confidence made them blind to the truth. On the bridge of the Indomitable, the crew listened to the alien message with anger and determination. Sarah turned to her crew, her expression fierce. "They think we are weak, but we will show them what humans can do. Prepare for battle! We will defend our home and prove them wrong." As the crew sprang into action, they made final preparations. Weapons were loaded, and systems were activated. Sarah felt the excitement and tension in the air. The crew had trained for this moment, and now it was time to fight. The alien ships hovered in the sky, casting large shadows over Earth. Their laughter faded as they waited for the humans to respond. But they had no idea of the power that lay within the Indomitable. With their hearts racing and adrenaline pumping, Sarah and her crew took their positions. They knew that the battle would not be easy, but they were ready to fight for their planet. The aliens had underestimated them, and that mistake would soon be their downfall. As the alien ships prepared to strike, Sarah's voice rang out on the intercom. "Stay strong, everyone! We are humans, and we will not be defeated!" The crew responded with cheers, feeling united and ready to face the challenge ahead. They knew the fight would be tough, but they also knew they had something the aliens did not: the spirit and determination of humanity. The stage was set for a clash between two very different worlds. The Zephyrians would soon learn that their mockery of the USS Indomitable was a grave mistake. The true power of humanity was about to be unleashed. The USS Indomitable floated in the depths of space, its crew busy preparing for the battle ahead. Commander Sarah Mitchell stood at the bridge, feeling a mix of excitement and nerves. The ship was ready, but they knew the Zephyrian fleet was large and powerful. As she looked at her crew, she saw determination in their eyes. They were ready to protect their home. Suddenly, the ship's sensors beeped loudly, breaking the tense silence. "Commander, we have a visual on the Zephyrian fleet," called out Ensign Harris, a young officer with bright blue eyes. The view screen flickered to life, revealing a massive armada of alien ships surrounding the Indomitable. They gleamed in the starlight, sharp and menacing. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine, but she quickly pushed it aside. "We will not back down," she declared. "We are humans, and we fight for our planet." The crew nodded, their spirits rising as they prepared for the worst. On the other side, the Zephyrian fleet was buzzing with excitement. Commander Varnock watched the screens with a smug smile. "Look at those puny humans," he said to his officers. "They think they can challenge us with that old ship? How foolish!" The aliens laughed together, their voices echoing in the control room. Varnock pointed at the Indomitable on the screen. "Prepare to attack! We will show them our power and teach them a lesson they won't forget." The fleet readied their weapons, and the atmosphere was thick with anticipation. As the Zephyrian ships prepared to fire, Sarah turned to her crew. "We need to act fast! Engage our shields and prepare for evasive maneuvers." The crew sprang into action, their training kicking in. The ship's shields glowed brightly, and everyone braced for impact. The Zephyrian ships unleashed their first wave of attacks. Bright beams of energy shot toward the Indomitable, lighting up the dark void of space. Sarah shouted, "Evasive maneuvers! Move left!" The ship tilted, narrowly avoiding the blasts. The crew cheered as they felt the adrenaline rush. "Return fire! Aim for their lead ship," Sarah commanded. The weapons officers quickly targeted the nearest alien ship, and the Indomitable fired back. Powerful beams of energy shot out, striking the lead Zephyrian vessel. It shook violently and began to drift, smoke pouring from its hull. The Zephyrians gasped in shock. "What? How is this possible?" Varnock shouted, anger and disbelief mixing in his voice. He couldn't understand how the humans had fought back so fiercely. "Focus on that ship! Don't let them get the upper hand." Back on the Indomitable, the crew felt a surge of confidence. They had damaged the alien ship, and now they believed they could win. Sarah could see the determination in their eyes. "Keep firing! We need to weaken their fleet before they regroup." The battle raged on. The Indomitable dodged and weaved through enemy fire, firing back with precision. The crew worked together, each person playing a crucial role. They communicated effectively, showing their teamwork and resolve. But the Zephyrians were not about to give up easily. They reorganized their fleet, surrounding the Indomitable in a tightening grip. Varnock was furious and shouted, "Don't let them escape! We will crush them!" As the aliens moved in, Sarah saw their plan unfold. "They're trying to trap us," she yelled. "We need to break free!" The crew sprang into action once more, focusing on their training. They executed tight turns and sharp movements, slipping through the alien net. "Look out! They're firing again!" one officer shouted. The crew held their breath as bright beams of energy zoomed past them. Some blast hit the Indomitable, shaking the ship but not causing critical damage. "Status report!" Sarah demanded, her heart racing. "Shields are holding, but we can't take many more hits," replied Ensign Harris, urgency in his voice. "We have to end this," Sarah said, her mind racing. She remembered the ship's hidden weapon, a last resort. If they could just hold on a little longer, they might turn the tide in their favor. "Prepare to activate the secondary weapon," she ordered, her voice steady. The crew looked at her, hope rekindled in their hearts. They knew they had a chance. As the battle continued, the Indomitable faced a daunting challenge. But Commander Sarah Mitchell and her crew were ready to fight for their planet. The Zephyrians may have laughed at them, but soon they would learn that humans were not as weak as they thought. The real battle was just beginning. The battle between the USS Indomitable and the Zephyrian fleet continued to rage in the dark expanse of space. Commander Sarah Mitchell stood at the helm, her focus unwavering. Her crew was working tirelessly to defend their ship from the relentless attacks of the aliens. The tension in the air was thick, but there was also a sense of unity among the humans. They were determined to show their strength. "Prepare to activate the secondary weapon," Sarah ordered, her voice steady. The crew quickly moved into action, ready to unleash the ship's hidden power. The engineers worked at their stations, their fingers flying over controls as they made the necessary adjustments. Meanwhile, on the Zephyrian flagship, Commander Varnock watched the battle unfold with growing frustration. "Why are they still standing? This should have been easy," he shouted, slamming his fist on the control panel. "They are only humans! They cannot possibly stand against us." His officers exchanged nervous glances, unsure of how to respond. "Sir, the Indomitable is more resilient than we expected," one officer admitted. "We need to regroup and change our strategy." Varnock shook his head, unwilling to accept defeat. "No! We will crush them now." He turned to his tactical officer. "Send in the fighter ships. We will overwhelm them with numbers." On the Indomitable, the crew had been waiting for this moment. "They're sending in their fighters!" Ensign Harris warned. his eyes wide as he watched the approaching enemy ships swarm towards them. "We'll be outnumbered!" "Not if we use our weapons wisely," Sarah replied, her voice calm but commanding. "All hands, prepare for close combat! Let's show them what we're made of." The fighter ships zoomed in, small and agile compared to the bulk of the Indomitable. They darted and weaved, firing their energy beams. Sarah's heart raced as she watched the ships come closer. "Evasive maneuvers! Move right!" she shouted, and the crew responded instantly. The Indomitable swerved, avoiding most of the enemy fire. As the first Zephyrian fighters drew near, Sarah's crew prepared their own weapons. "Target the lead fighter," Sarah ordered. "Fire!" The crew unleashed a barrage of energy blasts. One of the fighter ships was struck and exploded in a brilliant flash of light, sending debris spiraling into space. "Direct hit!" shouted an officer, excitement evident in his voice. But the Zephyrians were relentless. They pressed on, attacking with precision. The Indomitable shook under the pressure of the enemy fire. "Shields at 50%, reported the tactical officer. "We can't take much more of this!" Sarah felt a surge of determination. "We have to push forward," she said, her eyes narrowing as she focused on the task at hand. "Activate the secondary weapon." The crew members worked quickly, their hands flying over the controls. Suddenly, the ship hummed with energy, and a bright light enveloped the bridge. "We're ready," Harris shouted, his voice filled with excitement. "Fire!" Sarah commanded. A powerful beam shot out from the Indomitable, striking multiple Zephyrian fighters at once. The beam cut through them like a knife through butter, sending them spiraling away in defeat. The Zephyrians were stunned. "What is this?" Varnock shouted, watching his fighters being destroyed. "We must retreat and regroup," he ordered, panic creeping into his voice. As the Zephyrian fleet began to pull back, Sarah felt a wave of triumph wash over her. "We're pushing them back!" she exclaimed, a smile breaking across her face. "Keep firing! Don't let them escape!" But just as victory seemed close, a larger Zephyrian ship emerged from the shadows of the fleet. It was more imposing than the rest, a massive vessel adorned with spikes and glowing lights. "What is that ship?" one crew member whispered in fear. Varnock stood at the control panel, his expression fierce. "That is our flagship! We will end this now!" He ordered the flagship to engage, preparing for a final assault. "Everyone brace yourselves!" Sarah shouted, sensing the looming danger. "This is going to be our biggest challenge yet!" The crew steeled themselves for the fight ahead. They had proven their strength, but the battle was far from over. The true test of humanity's power was about to begin. The Zephyrian flagship approached, and Sarah knew they had to be ready. The Indomitable had fought bravely. But now, the first true encounter with the Zephyrian flagship would determine the fate of Earth. Would they be able to overcome this new threat, or would the aliens finally prove their dominance? As the battle intensified, both sides prepared for a showdown that would echo through the stars. The USS Indomitable stood tall in the vast emptiness of space, its crew bracing for what was about to unfold. Commander Sarah Mitchell stared at the screen, where the imposing Zephyrian flagship loomed larger and larger. The ship's dark silhouette was menacing, and Sarah felt a surge of determination mixed with anxiety. This was their moment to prove that humanity could fight back against any threat. "Status report!" Sarah shouted, her voice cutting through the tense atmosphere of the bridge. "Shields are at 40%, Commander," replied Ensign Harris, his hands flying over the controls. "We've sustained damage, but we're still operational. The crew is ready for battle." "Good," Sarah said, nodding. "Prepare for close combat. We're going to show them what we're made of." As the Zephyrian flagship approached, the crew could see its powerful weapons glowing ominously. "They're charging their main cannon," shouted a crew member. "We need to act fast. Fire our secondary weapon at their main cannon," Sarah commanded. The crew quickly complied, and a bright beam shot from the Indomitable, colliding with the Zephyrian ship. The energy flashed as it hit, and for a moment it seemed the aliens might be stunned. But Varnock aboard the flagship was ready. "Activate our shields and fire back! Show them we are not weak!" His voice was filled with anger, and the flagship unleashed a volley of energy beams. The Indomitable shook violently as the beams struck. "Shields down to 20%. Harris shouted, his voice strained. "We need to retreat." "Retreat? No way!" Sarah exclaimed, her heart racing. "We've come too far to back down now. We have one last trick up our sleeve." She knew they could win if they just held on a little longer. Engineering, activate the ship's core power, Sarah ordered, her voice steady. We need to unleash our full strength! The crew scrambled to follow her command, knowing that this was a do-or-die moment. As the ship's core powered up, a deep hum filled the bridge, vibrating through the deck. The Indomitable glowed with energy, its weapon systems coming online at full capacity. The Zephyrian flagship continued its assault, but the Indomitable was ready. Fire all weapons! Sarah shouted, her eyes fierce with determination. The ship responded, firing a barrage of energy blasts toward the enemy. The beams shot through space, striking the flagship. Explosions erupted on its surface, lighting up the dark void around them. Direct hits! We're doing damage! Cheered one crew member, a spark of hope igniting in the hearts of the crew. But Varnock was not defeated yet. Reinforce our defenses! We cannot let them win! He yelled, furious at the loss of his flagship's power. The Zephyrian flagship powered up its own weapon systems, preparing to unleash a final assault. Sarah's heart raced as she realized the danger they were in. They're charging their main cannon! Everyone brace for impact! She shouted. The crew held on tightly as the flagship fired its main cannon, a blinding beam of energy hurtling toward the Indomitable. The ship shook violently, alarms blaring as the powerful shot collided with their shields. The Indomitable trembled, but Sarah felt a rush of adrenaline. Now, activate the core power, she yelled. The ship hummed louder, and a new energy surged through its systems. Firing now! Harris shouted, pressing the button with determination. A massive beam of energy erupted from the Indomitable, more powerful than anything they had unleashed before. It collided with the Zephyrian flagship's cannon just as it fired again. The two energies met in a spectacular explosion of light, sending shockwaves rippling through space. For a moment, everything stood still. Then the explosion erupted, scattering debris and lighting up the dark sky. The crew gasped in awe as they witnessed the destruction of the Zephyrian flagship. The ship was torn apart, pieces floating away in the void. We did it! We actually did it! Harris shouted, a mix of disbelief and joy in his voice. The crew erupted into cheers, their spirits lifted by the victory. But Sarah knew the fight was not over yet. The remaining Zephyrian ships were regrouping, and they would not take this defeat lightly. Everyone stay alert, she commanded. This isn't over. We need to finish what we started. As the Indomitable hovered in the remnants of the battle, Sarah felt a new sense of pride in her crew. They had fought bravely and unleashed their true power. But she knew they needed to prepare for the final confrontation. The Zephyrian fleet would soon realize their flagship had fallen, and they would come back stronger than ever. The Indomitable and its crew had proven their strength, but the real test was just beginning. Sarah steeled herself for what lay ahead, ready to face whatever challenges came their way. They would protect their home no matter the cost. The remnants of the battle floated in the cold silence of space. The USS Indomitable stood victorious, but the crew knew they had to remain vigilant. Commander Sarah Mitchell stared out at the debris of the fallen Zephyrian flagship, her heart racing with a mix of relief and resolve. They had achieved a significant victory, but the fight was far from over. "Status report!" Sarah called, her voice firm and commanding. "Most of the enemy ships are in retreat, Commander," replied Ensign Harris, glancing at the screens filled with readings. "However, some are regrouping and appear to be preparing for another attack." "We have to act quickly," Sarah said, her mind racing. "If we let them regroup, we might face a stronger force." She looked around the bridge at her crew. "We need to send a message. We've shown our strength, but we need to make it clear that we will not back down." Harris nodded. "I'll prepare a broadcast to the remaining Zephyrian ships. We can show them footage of our victory and let them know they cannot win against us." As Harris began transmitting the message, Sarah turned her attention to the battle map displayed on the main screen. The remaining Zephyrian ships were beginning to scatter, and she hoped they would think twice before attacking Earth again. "Now is our chance," Sarah said, her determination shining through. "Let's pursue them and make sure they know this fight is over." The crew cheered, fueled by their success. They powered up the Indomitable and began to move forward, hunting down the fleeing Zephyrians. The atmosphere on the ship was electric. The crew felt empowered by their victory. Meanwhile, on the Zephyrian flagship, Varnock seethed with rage. How could this happen? "We were so close to crushing them," he shouted at his officers. "We need to regroup and strategize. We cannot let the humans think they have won." His officers exchanged nervous glances. "But, Commander, they destroyed our flagship. "They might come for us next," one officer warned. "Then we will prepare," Varnox snarled. "We will return with a new fleet and show them the true power of the Zephyrian Empire." As the Indomitable chased the retreating enemy ships, Sarah felt a sense of hope growing in her heart. They had proven that humanity could stand up against alien forces. "We have shown them our strength, and we will continue to defend our home," she said, inspiring her crew. As they continued to pursue the Zephyrians, the crew received word from Earth Command. "Commander Mitchell, we are receiving reports from the rest of the fleet," a communications officer announced. "They want you to return to Earth to report on the battle." Sarah felt a rush of pride. They had accomplished what seemed impossible. "Prepare to head back to Earth. We'll regroup and share our findings," she commanded. As they turned the Indomitable toward home, Sarah's thoughts drifted to what awaited them. They had made history, and the victory would be celebrated across Earth. But she also knew that this was just the beginning. The universe was vast, and more challenges lay ahead. When they finally arrived back at Earth, the crew was met with cheers and applause. Families and friends gathered to welcome them home, and the streets were filled with celebration. Sarah stepped off the ship, her heart swelling with pride. "Commander Mitchell!" a reporter shouted, rushing toward her. "What do you have to say about the battle?" Sarah smiled, feeling the warmth of her crew's support. "We showed that humanity can stand united against any threat. This victory is not just ours. It belongs to everyone on Earth. We will continue to protect our home and explore the stars, and we will not be afraid." As the cheers grew louder, Sarah glanced back at her crew. They had fought bravely and shown the galaxy the strength of humanity. But deep inside, she knew that their fight was far from over. The Zephyrians would regroup, and other challenges would arise. In the following weeks, the crew of the Indomitable received new orders from Earth Command. They were to lead an expedition to explore the outer reaches of space, seeking out new worlds and potential allies. The victory had opened doors, and humanity was ready to step into the unknown. Sarah gathered her crew in the ship's briefing room. "We've achieved great things, but there's more to come," she began. "We will venture into new territories, build alliances, and prepare for whatever challenges lie ahead." The crew listened intently, their spirits high. They were ready for the adventures to come. With a mix of excitement and determination, they set their sights on the stars, ready to face whatever awaited them in the vastness of space. And so, with their victory behind them, the crew of the USS Indomitable embarked on a new journey, one filled with promise, discovery, and the unyielding spirit of humanity.